Welcome to the City of Pinellas Parks City Council meeting. Our city offers superior parks, premium recreational services, exceptional public safety resources, optimal investment opportunities, and more. Our mayor and city council welcomes you to tonight's meeting.
Good evening, everybody. It is 6 o'clock, January 12th, 2023. We're starting our city council. We're going to have an invocation and a pledge of allegiance, so please rise if you wish. Heavenly Father, we ask that you guide us this evening as we go over the agenda that is before us. We ask that you lay special healing on our citizens and our business community in their time of need. We ask that you watch over our military, whether they are here or overseas. Watch over our state and federal government so that they actually think about what is best for their citizens. We want to give you a thank you for our wonderful citizens and our business community and our city employees. In thy name we do pray. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We have a wonderful special presentation from our fire department this evening. So, gentlemen and ladies, the floor is yours.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Daniel Lonadier. I work for Pinellas Park Fire Department. I'm also a member of the IFF Local 2193 that represents Pinellas Park. You may see the pink shirt. If you guys remember, from the month of October through December, we sold these shirts. We were able to wear them on duty. City personnel were able to wear them. And we also had a lot of people out in the community that were actually wearing these shirts. Sorry, I hate public speaking. So the organization that we chose was Hooked on Hope. They are here today, and if I could have them come up, they're going to briefly speak about their organization, what they do, and where all the money that we raise for these shirts is going.
Thank you so much, and thank you for having us. Hooked on Hope is a local nonprofit organization that started back in 2009 with my sister Mary and myself. I'm Captain Lori Hall, and this is my sister Mary Austin. This is our community liaison, Amy Gravel. Hooked on Hope is a local nonprofit that raises funds for underinsured and uninsured breast cancer patients. We're so happy to be here for more than one reason. My sister and I were speaking before we even knew any of this that we need to bring some of our funds into Pinellas County. We're very strong in Hillsborough County, but it's our desire and our passion for the new year. So this is a great way to start it off and kick it off. We're really excited. We are an event-based organization. We do an annual fishing tournament, golf tournament, clay shoot, and every other year we have a pamper party where we pamper local breast cancer patients and their guests, someone who has been with them that helped them through their journey, and that's a wonderful, beautiful event that we have as well. So that one's every other year. Through COVID, as with every other organization, we didn't get to raise money for quite a few years, and by the blessing of the surrounding communities, we were able to still give out those cash grants that my sister's going to share with you. So I'm a little nervous, but thank you so much for having us. This is cool, a little intimidating, I'm not going to lie. But thank you so much. We're really honored. Thank you.
Thank you, Sissy and Captain Lori. I'm Mary Austin, co-founder and co-director of Hooked on Hope, and I am the grants chair. So my sister, Captain Lori, with, of course, the help of our Amy, they raise all the money, manage and direct all the events, and once that money comes in, then I take over. So I developed and managed the grants program, and so ladies who are currently undergoing treatment for breast cancer in any Tampa Bay community, Pinellas, even Pasco, Hillsborough, Polk. And so as long as they are undergoing treatment, we actually pay for their living expenses. Rent, mortgage, car, insurance, food. We give Walmart gift cards. We give gas cards. We give Lyft rides. There are very few to know funding organizations that actually give women money to pay their bills. I've worked in the oncology healthcare communities. I'm very nervous too, obviously. I've worked in the oncology healthcare business and patient navigation for over 30 years. Tampa Bay communities are very, very rich in research dollars. We have USF, we have Moffitt Cancer Center, Baycare, all these amazing rich research dollars in our community. What we don't have is money to put food on the table for the women, many of whom are single moms in their homes who are unable to work during treatment. These women need our help right now. And so we are so honored to have the attention of the council this evening and extremely humbled by these group of servants to our left who have raised this money and who take care of us year round. We're very, very humbled, and just for everyone to show up this evening. So again, as Captain Lori shared, it just so happens that when we developed our funding priorities for 2023 and beyond, Pinellas County is at the top of the list. So our nervousness is kind of mixed with a little bit of excitement and hope for the future. And we do hope that we can make a little bit of an impact on the breast cancer patients of Pinellas County. Thank you so much for your time.
I'm just glad I'm not the only one nervous here. So, from the month of October to December, we actually sold over 300 T-shirts. So I would like to thank City Council, Bart, Chief Schlatter, everyone involved for allowing us to actually wear these shirts on duty, wear them out in the community, and raise money for this great organization. So if you wouldn't mind bringing that up. So from the month of October to December, we actually raised $2,362 for this organization. So from Pinellas Park Fire Department, Local 2193, I hope.
Everybody get behind us. Oh, everybody.
So,
You're right in the front center.
All right, take this thing away.
Right in the middle. Come on, Noah. Thank you so much.
like I said in the prayer, we are very blessed to have such wonderful city employees. At this time, it is an opportunity for any citizen to come up and speak on any item that is not on the agenda this evening, if they would like to do so. Seeing none, we will move on to approval of minutes. Councilmember Butler.
There we go. Make a motion that we approve regular council minutes of December 8th, 2022 is on file in the city clerk's office.
Second.
And
Oh, there's a special meeting one also. Okay, also I'd like to make a motion that we approve the special council meeting of December 1st, 2022 is on file in the city clerk's office.
Second that too.
all righty. Motion was made for December 1st and December 8th. All those in favor? Aye.
Motion carries unanimously.
Thank you. We're moving on to actually R1, which is at the bottom of your agenda, if any of you guys have picked up one on your way in the door, which is Section 5, regular agenda items. And this is R1.
All right, R1 is the 2022 Library Board Annual Report.
We don't want to put you on the spot, but she usually does a little dance on her way out.
Yeah.
I was told I should be razzling and dazzling. I was also warned about spirit hands. That's not what I'm coming for. Really good news we have is that we have a really great library. The report has on the second page, it talks about our plan for the year. Coming out of the events of the last few years, libraries, we struggled because we had programs we couldn't do. We had citizens that couldn't come to the library. We had staff who wanted to do programming and couldn't because of this. We sat down as a group. We looked at our goals. We wanted to make people aware of the library again, and we wanted to be aware of our community, find out more about it, do outreach. We wanted to build a great collection, have great items there. We want to have programs again like we used to have. The great news is that second page, that's all created by library staff in the last 8 years or so. Angela and I have built a really amazing staff of kind, helpful people who want to do library work. And they sat in groups. They talked about what we wanted to do and how we wanted to accomplish it. And that second page is really distilling everything that we're doing now and how we're sort of meeting our citizens' needs, how we're expanding communities that we couldn't reach before. And it's really just kind of wonderful. Also, we had some change in the library board. So the last page is actually a little bit of our new members. People who started the last year or so, and like Elijah, who was a team member and then who sort of came in to be an adult member after he aged out of being a teen. Sarah is over there. She's new also. And so it's kind of great because we've got a bunch of new blood coming in, people who can reach out to other communities that we maybe didn't have a chance to reach before. And that's pretty much what I've got about the annual report. We have a great library. We have great staff.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions? City Council.
Spirit hands.
I'm here to do some really cool things, so I'm waiting.
You saw the spirit hands. That's it. I'm out.
Thank you. Is there any citizen in the audience this evening that would like to ask any questions about the information about the library?
We got spare copies of the annual report if you want. So exciting, honestly.
I just want to say you guys are doing a great job over at the library. Everybody I talked to says you guys are doing a great job. No complaints have ever been turned into me about the library.
Okay.
Thank you very much. Entertain a motion.
Make a motion we approve the annual library report.
Second.
Motion's been made in second. Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye.
Motion carries unanimously.
Thank you for indulging us with rearranging the meeting. And now we're back to section 3. Oh, wait a minute. Quasi-judicial. No. Okay, none.
We do have 2 quasi-judicial, P3 and P4.
Thank you. I thought so. Anybody who is going to be speaking on an item this evening for quasi-judicial, please stand and be sworn in. That would be P3 and P4 also.
Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Yeah, well, I was worried about getting R. Now moving on to section 3, public hearings, item P1, ordinance number 4177.
Item P1 is ordinance number 4177, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Pinellas Park, Pinellas County, Florida, pertaining to permitted and conditional uses in the multifamily residential R6 zoning district, amending Chapter 18 Land Development Code by amending Section 18-1514.3, providing for the inclusion of such amended ordinance in the Code of the City of Pinellas Park, Florida, providing for severability, providing for an effective date.
Thank you. Item P1, ordinance number 4177's public hearing. And I'm going to open the public hearing and turn it over to Erica Lindquist.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. I'm Erica Lindquist, Planning and Development Services Director, presenting case number LDC 0922-00007. The request is to amend Section 18-1514.3 of the city's Land Development Code to add dwellings, single-family detached, as a permitted use within the multifamily residential R6 zoning district. Section 18-1514.3 was last amended in 2019, and at that point, the use of dwelling single-family detached was excluded from the R6 zoning district. Staff believes that that was done in error because prior to the 2019 amendment, that was a permitted use in the R6 zoning district. Also, all other residential zoning districts include dwelling single-family detached use as a permitted use. And so staff recommends approval of case number LDC 0922-00007, and the Planning and Zoning Commission on November 3rd also recommended approval. I am here if you have any questions.
Thank you. Does City Council have any questions of Erica? None? Is there anybody in the audience that has any questions on this item? Seeing none, I will close the public hearing and entertain a motion by Vice Mayor Seville.
I have a question.
Oh, okay.
Is there a size limit?
Well, there would be impervious cover limit for the lot, which would be 60% in the R6. That's the only size limit. There's also a height restriction for the zoning district.
Any other questions on this item?
Ready for motion?
Ready for a motion. And the public hearing is now closed.
I make a motion to pass ordinance number 2177, public hearing, second and final reading.
Second the motion.
Motion has been made in second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously.
Item number P2 is
Oh, wait one moment.
Lauren told me it was okay. It was just that it's the first public hearing, not the second public hearing.
That is correct. So, we're good? All right. Moving on to item P2, resolution number 22-36.
Item number P2, resolution number 22-36, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Pinellas Park, Pinellas County, Florida, vacating an approximately 30-foot wide by 610-foot long sanitary sewer and storm easement within 6101 45th Street North in Section 34, Township 30 South, Range 16 East, providing for an effective date.
Thank you. Item P2, resolution number 22-36, public hearing, first and final reading. I am opening the public hearing and turning it over to Megan.
All right, thank you. Good evening. My name is Megan Montesino, Development Review Manager, and I will be presenting case number VAC-1123-00001. The request is to vacate an approximately 30-foot wide by 610-foot long sanitary sewer and storm easement within the property located at 6101 45th Street North. Shown here is an aerial of the site, and shown in orange is the location of the easement to be vacated. This is the land use is Industrial Limited, IL. The zoning is M1 with an industrial planned unit development overlay. And the property is located in flood zones X shaded, AE24 and AE27, but the majority of the property is located in zone X, which is a low risk flood zone. Shown here is the sketch of the easement to be vacated. Just a summary, the easement was recorded in 1976 as a sanitary sewer and storm easement per book 4498, page 1374, and the easement is not being utilized by the city or any utility providers. The request meets vacation of easement requirements per the Land Development Code, and the request is consistent with the applicable goals, objectives, and policies of the comprehensive plan. Staff recommends approval of case number VAC-1123-00001, and staff is here if you have any questions.
Thank you. Does City Council have any questions of Megan? Seeing none, is there anybody in the audience that would like to speak on this item? Is the applicant here?
Looks to me like this is the very old one.
Sir, if I can have you come up to the microphone, please. Name and address for the record as well.
My name is Albert Gabin, 4301 62nd Avenue North, Pinellas Park.
Thank you.
Seems to me like that picture here is old picture because they got the new building right now, sitting like for 2 months, completely finished. And I wonder what the sewer line going to be, on 45th Street or 62nd Avenue? Because I'm not connected to the sewer system. I own the property for 20 years. I'm paying the sewer fees, but I'm not connected because the time when the building was built, there was no way to connect it.
The applicant is here if he can answer that question.
And I want to make your attention, about my property because I'm paying sewer bill, but I'm not connected.
Thank you.
That's it, what I have to tell.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
I apologize, I wasn't sworn in either.
You don't need to be.
This one's not quasi-judicial. Name and address for the record, please.
Good evening. Ryan Clark, Kimley Horn Associates, 201 North Franklin Street. Correct, this is an older aerial. This is the Amazon building. This easement was associated with an old historical gravity line. We've since constructed a new sewer system for the whole site. Excuse me. That lift station's been completed and done for Pinellas County. So this is just a formality as part of the platting process. We're cleaning up. This is like 2 lots for this overall property. So this is just a formality for platting.
Thank you. Maybe somebody can go talk to that gentleman just to make sure that... Okay. Is there any other questions on this item, P2? And this was for the property itself and has not been used and is being vacated.
Correct.
Seeing no questions, we will entertain a motion and close the public hearing. Vice Mayor Seville.
Yes, Mayor, thank you. I make a motion that we adopt resolution number 22-36, public hearing, first and final reading.
Second.
Motion's been made in second. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Aye.
Motion carries unanimously.
Item P3, consideration of a request.
Item number P3 is consideration of a request for the appeal of case number CU-1023-00002, conditional use approval of kennels, pounds, and animal shelters within the M1 Light Industrial Zoning District.
Thank you. Item P3, public hearing, first and final reading. This is quasi-judicial. I am opening the public hearing and turning it over to Erica.
Thank you. Again, I'm Erica Lindquist, Planning and Development Services Director, and here with case number APP 1223-00001 and also APP 1223-00002. And these are appeals of a conditional use. There are 2 requests to appeal case number CU 1023-00002, a conditional use approval of kennels, pounds, and animal shelters for a proposed Camp Bow Wow facility to be located at 13214 38th Street, that is in the M1 zoning district. This map shows the green arrow is pointing to the property that would be Camp Bow Wow. The north of that is the Central Insurance School, and they are one of the parties that applied for the appeal. To the south of the Camp Bow Wow property is Thunder Bay Foods, and they also submitted an appeal application. So just a little background on this conditional use. It was approved administratively by staff on November 4th, and it can be approved administratively per section 18-1531.10 of the Land Development Code. The proposed use of Camp Bow Wow met all of the conditional use criteria. It has a minimum separation of 1,500 feet from residentially zoned property, and they did propose an 8-foot high solid fence around all outdoor runs and cages that are not within completely enclosed building. Camp Bow Wow would operate primarily indoors, but would also have an outdoor dog run. The outdoor dog run would be enclosed, as I said, by an 8-foot high solid fence. Dogs would not be off-leash outdoors other than in that enclosed fenced area. The companies provided some information on their waste removal routine. There is constant play area patrol for dog waste. Waste is deposited in a galvanized steel trash can with a lid and a heavy-duty trash can liner. The liners are removed, sealed, and deposited in the facility's dumpster daily as needed, and dumpster pickup is scheduled for 1 to 2 times a week. So the first appeal is from Thunder Bay Foods Corporation, and they are located at 13182 38th Street, abutting the south side of the property, the subject property. The applicant stated the following concerns regarding the use of the kennels, pounds, and animal shelters conditional use. They are concerned about noise, odors, animal waste being transported onto their property, either by pedestrian or vehicle traffic or by surface water runoff, a potential increase in pathogens such as E. coli and Salmonella, insufficient separation between the kennel and surrounding properties for safety and quality control measures, and a potential increase in pest or rodent activity. There are some special review criteria for these appeals. A, is there any error or ambiguity that must be corrected? B, the general intent of the provision, which is the conditional use. C, the impact of any finding on the surrounding community. D, the testimony and submittals of those making the appeal, their counsel, agents, representatives, or witnesses. And E, the testimony and submittals of the staff, city attorney, representatives, or witnesses. Thank you, and I believe the party that filed this appeal is here, and along with, I believe, the owners of Camp Bow Wow, if you have any questions for them.
Thank you. Item P3, consideration of a request for the appeal, and this is for the Thunder Bay Corporation. The public hearing has been open. If there's anybody from Thunder Bay that would like to come up and speak. This is quasi-judicial, so I'll need name and address of anybody that speaks and whether they were sworn in or not.
We were not sworn, so if we want to take care of that formality first.
Please.
You're sworn.
You all to raise your right hands, please, and be sworn by the court.
You swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Thank you.
Good evening, Craig Taraski for the appellant, Thunder Bay Food Corporation, and the appeal of conditional use approval CU 1023-00002.
And address, please. Either your office address or their address.
490 First Avenue South, St. Petersburg, Florida.
Thank you.
You're welcome. As staff pointed out, the appeal is the consideration for appeal follows the review criteria in section 18-1535.4 of your code. I'll run through those briefly. A, whether there exists an error or ambiguity that must be corrected. We believe an error was committed by staff in issuing the administrative approval of this conditional use because it failed to demonstrate consistency with the general conditional use review criteria set forth in 18-1531.6C of your land development code. I think material to some of the discussion on those criteria is relevant to the specific use of the appellant. So if I can have Brad Bond come up and introduce himself and provide just a brief overview of your operation.
Sure. I'm Brad Bond. I'm with Thunder Bay Foods. We're located at 13182 38th Street North. We are a ready-to-eat food manufacturer. We deal with soups and sauces for national and regional restaurant chains. When I say ready-to-eat foods, specifically our food is designed to be consumed by the end user. There are no other further processing that needs to take place of our foods. So we are held to a very high standard in terms of our sanitation practices, our employee hygiene practices, as well as our processes. And that's primarily what we use the facility for.
That's good. Thank you. As you heard, the appellant's use is a regulated food production operation. Because the products produced there are ready to eat, there's typically no intervening operation applied to that food prior to consumption, such as cooking. So that's why they're held to the higher standard. The use is particular, should be given particular consideration because the conditional use review criteria speak about whether the proposed use will diminish the use or enjoyment of other properties and living or working conditions in the neighborhood. Because they're held to a higher standard, the appellant's operation has certain controls to mitigate against any potential contamination risks. At this point in time, I'm going to bring Mr. Mark Freeman up to provide just a brief overview of what those controls currently are.
Mark Freeman, Thunder Bay Foods. You need my address?
Yes, please.
1347 Summerlin Drive, Clearwater, Florida.
Thank you.
I function at the company as a quality assurance director. The controls that are in place right now are by design minimal, as we have no exposure to pests such as flies. It's a critical issue for us, and we're here appealing this decision because we must. The Code of Federal Regulations, Title 50, states that I and the company must anticipate and prevent any potential contamination that may occur. We cannot afford to wait until we have a fly problem or someone becomes sick. We're required by law to act in advance.
Mark, so if this conditional use operates here, what additional heightened level of controls will you have to institute with your operation?
Additional pest controls, including foyers to be screened, electronic fly traps, potentially changing the uniform code, the use of street clothes in the plants, boot programs, clean room institutions. It would be a very expensive and difficult renovation.
Thank you. So you've heard that there will be operational and potential capital improvements that will have to be done to this operation to mitigate against the potential risk associated with the kennel next door. And when I say next door, I mean it is absolutely immediately next door. There's 0 feet of separation between the conditional use that was approved and the appellant's use. They share two distinct demise spaces within the same building. So there's no physical separation between those. In your agenda package, you received a copy of our application, which contained several documents, including a published article, Environmental Contamination by Dog Feces, a Public Health Problem, published by the International Journal of Environmental Research and Public Health. That study concluded that canine feces may represent a risk factor for transmission of microorganisms. Because that's a known risk, you just heard that they have to mitigate against potential sources of contamination, so it immediately impacts their operation. There's another published document by FDA.gov, Get the Facts About Salmonella, which states that dogs and cats can shed salmonella in their stool and saliva, and pet waste from both sick and healthy pets can be a source of infection. Another review criteria for the appeal is that the general intent provision, that was the general intent of the provision that's the subject of the appeal. So we're talking about conditional use provisions. And the reason why the kennel is a conditional use is because it has specific risks or impacts associated with it that are different from general institutional uses. So it's put in its own category, which subjects, so it's a discretionary approval that's subjected to the general conditional use criteria as well as the specific conditional use criteria in your code. Now, the staff report that is the basis for the approval provides certain findings to justify the approval. Those findings in section 4 of the staff report says, based on the information and analysis contained in this report, the staff finds as follows: the proposed use meets the intent of the zoning district, that the proposed use meets all of the conditional use requirements per section 18.15.31.10 of the Land Development Code, and that's again where the error occurs, because that's only a portion of the criteria for the conditional use. That's only the use-specific criteria. You also have to meet the general criteria in 18.15.31.6C. In section A of that section, it says that in granting an application for conditional use, the city shall find that such approval will not adversely affect the public interest and shall consider the compatibility criteria listed in paragraph C, which are the 7 general criteria. So there's no findings in the staff report. Therefore, the approval was not based on a finding of compatibility with or consistency with those review criteria. The application doesn't contain any reference to those general criteria. And there are 4 that I don't believe this application satisfies. It's that mentioned before, whether the use will diminish the use or enjoyment of other properties and living or working conditions in the neighborhood. Number 3, whether the use will impede the normal and orderly development. Improvements in surrounding properties permitted in the respecting zoning districts in a manner consistent with the comp plan. Number 4, whether the established maintenance or operation of the use will be detrimental to or endanger the public health, safety, comfort, or general welfare as a result of certain things in here, including noise, vibration, emission of pollutants. We've talked about all those things. And it is not just an impact on the appellant's use, it is a general public health concern because these food products are going out to the public. And a failure could be catastrophic not only to their building, but it would not only to their use, but to the public in general. General criteria number 5, whether the land area is sufficient, appropriate, and adequate for the use and reasonably anticipated operations and expansion. As I said before, there's no separation between the conditional use and the appellant's use. They share the same building, just 2 distinct demised spaces. In addition to the appellant's use, you have a hotel use that's approximately 320 feet to the, I believe, the northwest to the building with nothing in between. And you have about 165 feet to the property line of that hotel. So you've got 2 incompatible uses, as well as the appellant for the case that's on the next agenda that's immediately adjacent to the north. We talked about the impact of any finding on the surrounding community regarding noise, animal waste and vectors for infection or contamination. And we believe that we provided substantial and competent evidence that the application does not satisfy the criteria to establish approval of this conditional use. And we're asking you to reverse that approval and deny that, and approve this appeal and deny that application today. And we're here to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you. Any question of the applicant for the appeal by City Council? Councilmember Butler.
Trying to wrap my head around this. On the building itself that you now occupy, does it have an overhead door?
Yes.
Does it ever get open during the transportation?
Multiple deliveries per day.
Multiple deliveries, and then okay. Is there anything that blocks anything now? I mean, I find it hard to believe. I've lived here all my life. I got flies. Okay. I just don't understand why your building doesn't have flies. I mean, are you saying that it's a building that's not open in the middle of the old swamp?
Because of the operation, there are significant controls put on
what are they?
Environmental contact, but
what are they?
Personnel contact. So the doors have special curtains to try to mitigate against anything coming in.
The plastic curtains, or are we talking about screens?
You can answer that specifically.
Plastic curtains, as well as when the trucks back up, they form a seal. They go up against a flexible foam type seal. When the trucks pull in, it makes a seal against the door.
Okay, so you've never had any flies in that building at all?
I can't say we've never had a fly, but we don't have a fly problem.
So in your agenda package, there is both a control program in there and also an inspection report from their pest control.
Oh, I see a 3-page inspection report. It's very specific on what they do and what they don't do or what they could do, but it doesn't reflect anything that may happen. I mean, it doesn't.
Correct.
Okay, so I mean, there's nothing.
Is that they do not have a problem.
Okay, so they do not have a problem now, and they've never had a problem. So you're telling me that they will have a problem if they move in?
What I'm telling you is that there are going to be impacts to both the controls, which will require operational controls, additional foot baths for people walking in, additional clean rooms to gown. In these,
Do they work now in civilian clothes, or are they?
There's a partial gown.
Partial gown, so they're half wrapped, basically.
Yes, and they'd have to go to an elevated control.
Okay. And none of that is in place at this current time?
No.
Okay, and clean rooms don't exist there?
No. There's no dedicated, well, when I say clean room, I mean what transition from a dirty space to a clean space. When you go through that space, there would be disinfectant, gowning, removal of certain street clothes, shoes. There is currently in that space no specific room to do that because it's not needed based on the risk that they've assessed currently.
Okay. Yeah, that's all the questions I have.
I have one little question of staff.
Absolutely.
What, on this piece of property, what could be go in there without our approval or denial? In other words, what's allowed on that property? Permitted uses.
We are pulling up the list.
Zoned industrial or?
It's M1.
M1?
It is M1. There are quite a few different commercial uses, including auto dealerships, breweries, building material and home improvement establishments, car washes, convenience stores, financial institutions, printing establishments, microbreweries, offices, personal services, restaurants, retail sales, shopping centers, and then manufacturing uses, including warehouses, wholesale establishments, boat assembly and repair, carpentry shops.
It's about the heaviest zoning district that we have here in the city right now.
In other words, they could have a brewery there, and there would probably be a lot of flies at a brewery or a restaurant. We could draw a few flies, and it would be nothing we could do to stop that, because it would be allowed in that on that piece of property. So I'm just trying to.
The kennel is a conditional use, though. So the kennel is subject.
The kennel is subject to a restaurant or a brewery. We would have no control. They would just move in and take over and start from scratch. So I just want to know what we're kind of adding up. You know, in other words, we tell these people they can't jump in, and then you might get somebody there a lot worse.
Yeah. I mean, it's the other question I had also was: is your product prepackaged, or it goes out in bulk?
It is packaged sometimes for individual use, sometimes in bulk packs.
But they're packaged.
Right, but we don't want to package any flies.
I don't want you to package any flies either, but the fact is during the packaging, I mean, it's prepackaged. It's not going out in big soup tureens or somewhere.
I think they actually package it at that location.
Yeah, we have the tureens, and we move that liquid into a sealed container.
And then you package it through a machine. It's kind of like the hot sauce at Taco Bell.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Which I've never caught a fly in there, but, you know.
Don't want to.
Yeah.
Because of the controls that are placed on the.
Yeah, that's true, I guess so. Problem is the building, you've got half the building there. Have you ever had a neighbor there at all?
Yeah, the previous neighbor was a manufacturer.
What kind?
So you can get on the record.
They were a machine shop making machine parts.
Machine parts, which scattered.
The occupant when we moved in, so they were kind of an ideal neighbor for us. They did their thing and we did ours.
Yeah, but there was never any thought about contamination of metal parts being
negative. No,
not a chance.
No, there wasn't, and it's not. It's not the flies we're concerned about. It's what the flies carry with them. I mean, these feces flies are a very specific fly, and that's what we're concerned about. Those are considered fill flies, and they can contaminate our product, which is why we have a zero fly policy.
Right.
An example of the pest control report you have is 1 month. We've got a documented history of inspections that don't include any fly activity. And so, again, we're held to a zero fly policy. That's what our facility is subjected to. If we go into a third-party audit, or we have a customer visit, or we have a federal agency come in, and they find a fly in our facility, that is a major violation, subjected to corrective actions.
And Councilwoman Reed.
What is the building that's on the other side of you? What is that building? What's
It's
in
like
there?
storage building. To the south of us?
Yes.
To the south of us is a storage building. He basically has cars in there, and that's really all there is.
And then to the other side, to the northwest side.
Is a diesel mechanic shop.
And all those cars kind of like looks like a junkyard back in there. Is that right? That's what my picture shows. Is a bunch of vehicles.
I think those are like cars under service, vehicles under service.
And then before was a machine shop that was next door to you guys.
Yes,
They did all made all the parts and stuff for different things. I just looked up their thing, so
that's correct.
they did a lot of milling and that kind of stuff. And it looks like they had their doors open frequently. Because on their website, their gallery shows that. Okay. Thank you.
Any additional questions of staff or City Council? Okay. At this time, I will open it up to the public, and the applicant of Camp Bow Wow can come up and speak if they would like.
Good evening. I'm Larry Silvestri. I'm representing the owner, Camp Bow Wow, the applicant.
Name and address and whether you were sworn in or not, please.
I was sworn in. My address is 111 2nd Avenue Northeast, office 908, St. Petersburg, Florida.
Thank you.
You want to just start?
Whatever protocol you would like.
Since I was sworn in, to tell the truth, nothing but the truth, I can tell you that I'm not a land use attorney like the previous attorney that was up here, who does a very good job of explaining the law and what he feels that the planning and zoning did and didn't do. But I'm up here with some different facts and with some different information about what Camp Bow Wow is all about. First of all, council erroneously says that this is the same building. Is it possible for you to pull up a picture, the over aerial of the location? They're two separate buildings. What council apparently doesn't know is that there is separation between these buildings. They're both concrete block wall. They have a party wall which blocks the space in between, which gives an additional buffer between these two buildings. But they're not the same building. This is quite different than two demised premises. If you think of a shopping center, where you have maybe the pet store, maybe the pet kennel here, and then the next tenant, there's just a demising wall, which isn't a block wall. So that's a fallacy there. If you see, we're talking about our neighbor that is to the south, and what Camp Bow Wow is a franchise. It's a national franchise. They've been doing this for over 20 years. They have very stringent requirements in terms of how they operate. And I'm very happy to hear that our neighbor has stringent operating procedures, because their salmonella is no better or worse than any salmonella that comes from anyone else. But we don't expect them to cross-contaminate our dogs. Our dogs are primarily going to be inside. They go out to the run, which, by the way, is on the other side of the building from appellant. And in that space, when they're out there running, they're on leash. The construction of that area includes under drains. Dogs urinate. They also poop. We know that. We have procedures that are in place for that, so that the campers, the dogs, and the customers feel comfortable in this location. So it's paramount that it be sanitary. As sanitary as you can be with pets. Now, the under drain allows for urine and loose feces to go down. Now, where does it go? It goes into the sanitary sewer. Sanitary sewer. Doesn't get washed into the soil. The feces that is on top gets collected as indicated by staff. There are many procedures, and if you look at, we have more materials, but I don't want to overwhelm you with all of that. I just want you to think about the facts here. If not here, where? Where do you put a kennel? Where do you put a Camp Bow Wow? We're very pet friendly in this age. They have to go somewhere. My clients, who are franchisees, who have invested a lot of money in this location, looked everywhere to find the right spot, to find a spot. They looked to lease. They couldn't find a place. They looked to buy. With the assistance of the franchise organization, they found this location. This location is an appropriate place for this use. We understand it. It's a conditional use. We meet the conditions. The conditions are, number one, that put an 8-foot fence up. Not a problem. The conditions are that we be good neighbors. Not a problem. We're away from residential areas. We really do satisfy all the requirements without going through all of them again. This is part of the orderly development of this area. Detriment to public health? I don't think so. Are dogs a detriment to public health? Dogs are a plus, in my view. So they've got to go somewhere. This is the appropriate place. Aside from the fallacy about the buildings not being in place, a lot of what they say is true. You do have to keep up their facility. We have to keep up our facility. I assure you my clients will. Now, would you like to speak a little bit about what you've learned and what your operation does?
Hi, my name is Brandy Edberg. My address is 16803 Bannershow Place, Waimama, Florida. I am a single female Native American, and I have invested every bit of my retirement, into this process. And had it not been approved, I probably wouldn't have closed on this building. But because it was approved, I closed on this building and moved forward with everything. We have many things to put into place to prevent flies, to prevent cross-contamination. One of those being the drainage system he's talking about in the yard that would be outside on the north side of the building. And in regards to that play yard that's outside, it would be manned by staff 24/7. When there's dogs anywhere, that area is manned by an employee who has been trained and will be trained in the proper cleanup of the feces and urine, as well as regular cleaning schedules twice a day. In addition to that, the play yards that were put in place are for the two-legged customers more than the four-legged customers, just so you understand where the amount of time the dogs spend outside versus inside comes from. Through experience, we've learned the dogs follow the humans. So if we have a camp counselor, we call them, an employee outside with the dogs, all the dogs go out there. If we have them come in, they all follow the human inside. It's just the way that it works. And in regards to that also, we didn't base a lot of our square footage on the outdoor run space. It appeals to us and it appeals to the two-legged person, but we know in Florida that dogs aren't going to be outside in 90-degree weather as much as they would in cooler climates. So we based the purchase of this site on where we needed the square footage for the animals. In addition to that, we also have what are called power loos. It's a flushing system similar to a toilet, only it's more appealing on the ground, where the feces can go directly into the sanitation system, just like everybody else's urine and fecal matter. We have healthcare cleaning guides that are very stringent on a regular basis, and it's contracted through a cleaning company to not be hazardous or to the animals or to the environment, but to also do the job of sanitizing and cleaning the area the animals are in for their health purposes, as well as to reduce on odor, smell, all those things. So nobody's going to want to bring their dog to my Camp Bow Wow if it smells, if it's dirty, or if it poses a hazard or risk to anybody. In addition, I was curious if any of the people that worked at the two opposing appellants have dogs of their own, because they're coming into work after being in their own home, their own yard, possibly walking through fecal matter on their way in and out of work. I don't foresee that being an issue, also because we have two separate entrances to the sites. So two separate buildings, as Larry indicated. I've reached out to several different owners and like the entire group of franchise owners, which is 200 different owners, asking if anybody else has encountered this problem or if they have similar locations. Off the top of just like 2 days ago, asking, there are 4 locations outside of Florida that are near or adjacent to or in the same strip mall as actual restaurants and food distribution centers. Then I also Google searched different pet daycare boarding facilities within Pinellas Park, and there are also 4 that I found near or adjacent to food facilities, as well as one that is very close proximity to the school, the school administration office, and I did that just for the mere fact of being noise control. We also have studies that have been done at previous Camp Bow Wow facilities with sound studies that you can review if you need, and it's never been an issue. We'll have barriers put into the ceiling to actually barricade the sound from the airplanes, because there is an airport directly across the street to the north of us, and you can hear them passing by. Don't foresee it being an issue for the dogs, but if you are outside, those airplanes passing over, you can't even talk to each other. You have to stop and wait for it to pass. So as far as noise control goes, we do have practices in place to control the noise going out, but more so to control the noise that's coming in from the airplanes as we have dogs in the facility. That's pretty much all I have, unless you have any questions for me.
Vice Mayor Seville.
Yes, thank you. I love dogs, okay? So please don't get offended by my questions.
Okay.
At these other facilities where you say that the urine goes into the ground and into the sanitary sewer system, how big of an area is that, say, in square footage?
That's dependent upon the site and how large their outdoor camps are. Not all the outdoor camps have that drainage system. This is something that's a little bit newer that we found at the annual convention. This is kind of what it looks like. Our sites, our backyards, and this is like it on top. You can see the grass or the fake lawn.
Well, my problem with that is when it rains,
Yep.
all that rainwater is going through.
It's turned on and off. So when you turn this little thing on, and it's not like a sprinkler system, water runs underneath it. So as the urine goes in there, because you're outside with your dogs, then you would turn the system on to wash it, and it would flush all of that down the drain, and then you shut the system off. It's not on all the time. It's for primarily of cleaning of that. And there's a schedule that the dogs are outside. Like I said, there's a human with them out there. Whether they're inside or outside, it's not going to be a free range where they can come in and out. Some camps do run like that, but this one will not, simply because of I focused my square footage on the indoor space versus that outdoor space. That's just to appeal to the two-legged person who's paying the bill. In addition to that, I'm sorry, I'm losing my train of thought.
Did that address your question regarding rain or not?
Yeah.
Okay. And then our square footage outside is like 10 feet by 20 foot. There's 4 separate yards that are 10 feet by 20 foot, but other camps do have much larger run spaces.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Councilwoman Reed?
So the outside area of that picture you just showed, you're actually putting in artificial turf this whole thing.
Yep.
And then it's raised up off the ground.
Yep, it's raised up off of the ground by like a grate system.
So that's the bottom on
Yep.
your right hand, and then that's what it looks like on the top. So
Yes.
it's all artificial.
Yep.
And it gets cleaned anytime the dogs are out and back in. It
Yep.
gets washed.
Twice a day on a, yep.
And then picked up and cleaned. So then it would be clean anytime that there's nobody out there.
Yes.
So you don't leave.
Yep.
And then it's all contained.
Yes, it's all contained.
May I say one thing?
Oh.
I'm John with Randmar Development, 12645 Racetrack Road, Tampa, Florida, 33626. I'm the general contractor.
You were sworn in?
I was, yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank you. Underneath that is a concrete slab, so it's not percolating down into the soil and running off to wherever it's going. So it is, there is a hard surface underneath it.
So everything's contained.
Yes, ma'am. Again, John Sapir with Randmar Development. I'm going to talk as an owner this time. I'm an owner of 125,000 square feet off a racetrack road called Lindmar Business Center. We're a land developer, and we were approached by a doggy daycare, because that is the popular thing these days. It's called Houndstown. And we were a little concerned about it in the beginning, and they wanted to rent 5,000 square feet. We have 2-hour separation walls. We have office space right next to it. Also, about 30 feet away, we have 2 autism companies. And they were concerned about the dogs as well, because autistic kids get very, I guess, they don't do well with dogs, and they get scared quickly. They've been there for now 9 months. We've had 0 complaints from any of our tenants, 0 complaints from the autism people, no complaints next door. I haven't heard of 1 fly problem at all. That's the first I've ever heard of that. We're to be honest with you, we're very happy, and we would do it again if another doggy daycare center came to us. We would rent that out to them, no questions asked.
And the Houndstown he's referring to has a Mediterranean market, literally in the same building, as well as a Papa John's.
Councilmember Butler.
I'm still trying to get my head wrapped around the building itself. Does it attach to the other building, or does it not?
The building,
0 lot line?
no, there's a lot line.
Uh-huh.
I believe there's 8 to 12 inches in between the 2 buildings. Do you know from your? Yes.
To my understanding, it's a 0 lot line. There is a 8-inch block that separates.
Okay.
I don't know if it's filled solid or whatever, but it meets the requirements, whatever fire rating that we need for fire.
For the fire.
It is 2 parcels, so it is separate. So
Separate
they
parcels.
are the owner of 1, And I don't know if Seacoast or whoever owns that other side to the south, that is its own separate parcel. If you go on Pinellas County Property Appraisers, you'll see the two.
Is it a separate roof system?
There's a separate roof system with a party wall.
In between?
Pardon?
You all might be able to.
Is there a parapet up top?
Yeah, it's attached at the top.
Okay.
And at the side. If you were at the front of the buildings, it would look like it's the same building.
Right.
Because, and I had to figure this out for my clients when they were going to buy this. There's a reference, there's a document entitled a party wall agreement.
Okay, there is a.
So I thought party wall. I thought what the other attorney thought as well, that these buildings shared a wall. But the party wall is actually the facade that matches the two, so you don't see through the buildings if you were standing at the front. So there's a wall here and a wall in the back, and according to the document, I haven't been on the roof, also on the roof. Okay. So that it's sealed in between.
Sounds good.
According to our aerial, the roof color is actually two different colors.
Yeah, a little darker.
Yeah.
Because it looks like they meet, though. It's probably hard to tell with that.
They're pretty close together.
I drove by the site, and you can't tell because of the way that they have the building designed.
That's the design, it looks like. And that's to seal off that 8 inches. Just put a facade on it. And there's an easement for that says each party maintains theirs.
Great. Thank you.
Anything else?
I was glad to see you bring in the designs of the grass area.
Yes.
That was my biggest concern when we got the question about this, is like, you're putting a dog run in the middle of an industrial park and there's no place for the dogs to run around.
And you'll hear in the next presentation
outside
appeal that the party to the north, that's part of their concern, and their allegation, unfounded, is that Camp Bow Wow will simply spray the feces onto their property. But now you know that's not true. And now they know, and they didn't know before. So we hope we're educating everybody as to how this works and satisfying.
And with the grass that's out front, when you have clients bringing your clients to visit, I would, hand out doggy bags.
Absolutely. We have a station actually that we have to have put up with like you see at any dog park with the bags and the receptacle.
And I might mention that if you look closely at the materials from the appellant, that study about dog feces, it looked pretty far for that one because it was done in a city in Italy where their concern was dog feces on the streets and sidewalks of an urban area. So they went out and they collected the feces and checked for what was in it. I think we would admit that in any city, on any street, at any time, you can find feces. This will not be that. So take a look at that. See what you think about how that supports the argument.
Oh, Councilwoman Reed.
Yeah, I have a question.
Yes.
The entrance to Thunder Bay is on this side, and your entrance is on this side?
Yes, our entrance will actually be moved, though, after we're done with the renovations. Is it going to be where that service door is? Yeah.
Yeah.
The entrance will be pretty much where that metal personnel door is.
Here?
Yes. And the 2 overhead doors will be inoperable, so those will not be used. So everybody will enter and exit through that door there unless there's an emergency.
And then Thunder Bay, where's Thunder Bay?
Thunder Bays is all the way on the other side of the parapet here.
Over here?
Yeah, and it doesn't look like we have a sealed overhead door there as I'm looking at that door going in. But their door is on the other side of that parapet. Yes.
Thank you. Is there anybody else that would like to come up and speak or have any questions for either of the entities? Yes, ma'am. Name and address for the record and whether you've been sworn in or not.
Sort of double through. I did. I stood up earlier. But, Jonathan Key, 3825 Talent Drive, Palm Harbor, Florida. I'm a co-owner of Thunder Bay Foods, and I love dogs myself. I have a dog. We're not allowed to bring our dogs to the plant. It's against FDA regulations, so that's that. But my biggest concern is, I understand you've thrown everything in there. I know exactly how that feels. This whole thing happened like a thief in the night. What's your LLC's name to buy this property?
Cyber Home Security.
Cyber Home Security. Doesn't raise any alarm bells as far as dogs or anything else. Did you ever knock on our door to ask, what does Thunder Bay Foods do?
We would need both of you guys to be on the mic together, and
yeah, and really it's not appropriate.
and it's you're supposed to.
Here's our concern. No one, not the city, who we hope is here to look after our interests. We were never notified of anything. The only way we discovered this is we happened to call to ask what our setback was, and we were told, oh, by the way, looks like you're getting a new neighbor. We said, great, who is it? I said, oh, it looks like it's a dog kennel. We looked it up. When it finally closed, we saw cyber security. That doesn't sound like anything. Everything has been done to make sure no one knows what's going on, because if not here, where? Well, not next to a ready-to-eat food manufacturer. It's not a restaurant. It's not a distributor of Indian food or anything. We make ready-to-eat food that our product goes bad, people can die. It's that legit. So that's our concern. Again, I love dogs. I love businesses. I wish everyone success. We have to look after the food safety and of our customers, of the public, and of the great investment we've done here. And we were here first. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Do I need to allow the applicant to come back?
In rebuttal, this wasn't the rezoning.
You may want to wait and find out if there's any other
I'm sorry.
individuals that want to speak on the matter.
Is there anybody else that would like to come up and speak on this item? Okay. And did they have any time left, Diane? Because it got cleared.
No. Go ahead.
Jennifer.
No, ma'am. They had 30 seconds remaining when the timer was stopped for the next person to speak.
Okay. You have 30 seconds.
There was no need to notify the public. This is a use that is expected there. It's a conditional use. My clients did nothing nefarious. I think the man that just spoke is a little disingenuous, because it's our understanding that they tried to buy the building, and my client beat them to it.
Thank you. And the applicant for the appeal will have a few minutes to say a few items before we close this public hearing.
How much time do I have?
3 minutes.
10 seconds.
Sounds like my house.
Yeah, you're my house.
So that, I can attest to that recording. I made that recording when I dropped my dog off at a kennel on January 4th in St. Petersburg. And I'm a lifelong dog owner, frequenter of doggy daycares, and they're all pretty consistent. They have outdoor dog runs, and that's what you hear from opening until closing at all of them. So the noise is a real issue. And the fact that there's no separation of that use from the appellant's use is a real issue. The fact that there's a potential for increased contamination of their food processing line and packaging line is a real risk that they're going to have to address, and they're going to have to change their operations and their controls to address and mitigate against that risk. That's an impact that needs to be considered and wasn't considered during staff's review and approval of this conditional use. And again, there was a legal error made. There was no finding that application complied with the general conditional use criteria in section 18-1531.6C. That section is referenced in the staff report, but there are no findings or no discussion on any of those criteria, only the specific criteria for kennels in section 18-1531.10. Based on that alone, this application should be denied. There is no evidence on the record to support consistency with those review criteria. There's been nothing presented today to support that. But this is not a hearing on the application itself. This is a hearing on whether the appeal should be granted to deny the application. And because there was legal error made, it needs to be denied. You heard testimony from the kennel owner that there will be certain engineered controls on the pet waste, that it will be turned on, turned off. So what I'm hearing is that if the system is turned off and you have a rain event, that any waste that may be on that surface, because again you heard that there's a impermeable concrete slab underneath, is going to go into the surrounding areas. And the predominant surface water drainage in that area is to run north to south, down from the proposed kennel next to the appellant's property and down to the stormwater management facility south of those properties. When there's a significant rain event, there is flowing water down that narrow space behind those buildings. So that is a real risk. And I didn't hear, there was nothing on the application package that had any engineering backup for that system.
Wrap it up, please.
Thank you.
Thank you. Drainage is back to you. Thank you. I will close the public hearing and entertain a motion. Councilmember Butler.
Oh boy, here we go. I will make a motion that we try to figure out this deny. Anyway, I don't believe that we need to, so that would be deny.
I'm not sure what your motion is going to be, but there's an appeal that's before you right now. So if the motion
approve the appeal or deny the appeal.
Deny
the motion should be either to
I make a
deny
motion.
the appeal or to grant the appeal.
I make a motion we deny the appeal.
Second the motion.
Motion
Discussion.
made and second. Any further questions?
Discussion.
Discussion. Councilmember Butler.
I'm basing this on the fact that the zoning, you are located in the heaviest zoning district that we have. The heaviest. I mean, it could have been a concrete plant, could be all this other stuff that could be allowed in that building. And, you know, I feel for you. You should have bought it. I guess somebody should have been faster on it anyway. But the fact of the matter is, it's the highest we have. We can't create a new zoning called puppy land zoning to allow these provisions to exist. And they did everything right. This is the first time I've been on this council for 26 years. I have never had a repeal or a conditional use asked to be repealed. And I'm just 26 years. And I've been involved longer than that. So I really don't see it. I don't see it. I mean, I wish everybody luck, and I hope everybody doesn't have the problems they think they're going to have. Just need to go from there. At that point, then you can go to court or do whatever you got to do in the judicial system. Good luck. And we go from there.
And Councilmember Mullins.
Yeah, I'm inclined to agree with Rick because, you know, if you had a brewery went in there, just say a brewery, a microbrewery, people be coming in and out, there's yeast there, there's all kinds of stuff. A restaurant draws flies, does all kinds of stuff like that. And there ain't a darn thing we could do about not letting one of them come in there because it's zoned for it. We only get a choice on this because it's been appealed. So, I mean, I can't see that this facility is going to be any worse for drawing problem to you than a restaurant or a microbrewery with yeast and garbage from the restaurant and stuff like that. I can't see how this would be any worse, especially with the things they've got in place to try to make it better. So I'm going to agree with Rick on this one.
One thing that I will say is to bring your puppy to work with you, you know, and drop it off. And then when you're having a bad moment, then you can go next door and get some attention. I'm saying that in a loving way because I believe that this appeal will probably be denied. I was watching the news last night, and they had on there, it was snow 5 feet along the side of the road. There was a bus driving by picking up dogs to take to doggy daycare on the news last night, and the dogs were so excited to get on the bus to go to the doggy daycare, just like a kid is excited to get on the bus to go to school. And a lot of people don't have children, and the dogs are their children. And they get treated like children, spoiled, and which I've been known to do to my dogs as well. But hopefully, if the appeal is denied, that you guys can work together and be good neighbors to each other. Anything else for the good?
No.
All those in favor? Aye.
Motion carried unanimously.
Thank you. Moving on to item P4, consideration of requests for an appeal.
Item P4 is consideration of a request for the appeal of case number CU-1023-00002, conditional use approval of kennels, pounds, and animal shelters within the M1 Light Industrial Zoning District.
Thank you. Item P4, consideration of the request for the appeal. Public hearing, first and final reading. It is quasi-judicial. I am opening the public hearing and turning it over to Erica.
Good evening again, everyone. I'm Erica Lindquist, Planning Development Services Director. First of all, staff would like to incorporate the previous presentation for the item P3 into the official record for item P4, which is case number APP 1223-00002.
Does the applicant on this appeal have any objections with having everything that Ms. Lindquist previously testified to incorporated in this appeal?
Not that applicant, not no. The applicant behind you. Yes, sir.
She has no problem.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, the applicant for this appeal is Central Insurance School. They are located at 13246 38th Street, and they are abutting the north side of the subject property. The applicant stated the following concerns regarding the use of kennels, pounds, and animal shelters in their application. Noise from the dogs interrupting and distracting students, water runoff under the fence and onto their property, smell deterring students from wanting to attend school, safety of students, and the potential for dog bites. Again, just to review the appeal review criteria, A, is there an error or ambiguity that must be corrected? B, the general intent of the conditional use provision. C, the impact of any finding on the surrounding community. D, testimony and submittals of those making the appeal and their counsel agents, representatives, or witnesses, and also the testimony and submittals of the staff, the city attorney, representatives, or witnesses. Thank you, and again, I'm here for questions.
Any additional questions for Erica by City Council? Seeing none, applicant may come forward, name and address for the record, and whether you were sworn in or not, please.
Good evening. Thank you for your time. I'm Dinah Fink, and I am the president of Central Insurance School. My address is 13246 38th Street North, Clearwater, Florida, 33762.
You've been sworn in.
Vice President, I have been sworn in, thank you. Okay, this is the Vice President, Scott Knight.
I'm Scott Knight, 13246 38th Street North, and I have been sworn in as well.
Thank you. You have heard quite a testimony about the location. While there are several things that we could reiterate about it, we're saving your time because your time is very valuable, so thank you for that. What we would like to do is to introduce our particular operation with you. We are a professional education organization. We've been in business for 36 years. We've been located at our current location for 22 years. We've established an amazing reputation on a state, but more importantly, a national basis. We have people traveling from all over the country to come to our particular classes. We do adult training for insurance professional education, both continuing ed, but that's not our major concern. Our major concern is we are a national pre-licensing education facility. Currently, right now, in our classroom this weekend, we have 62 students in our classroom. And continuing that, we also have another 78 students on the web based on our educational criteria, but more importantly, our credibility that we've gained over those particular years. We teach, and more importantly, we administer exams on a state level for people to get their insurance license. We appreciate the fact that people come to us because we have a professional organization, we have a professional location. Most importantly, we have the capability of being able to give them the ability to concentrate based on what we're doing to provide their education. To be able to start our particular presentation, I'd like to reiterate that ordinance number 37483-10-28210 is our one in question. Many things have been discussed, but compatibility is our biggest concern. Item number 4 in that particular presentation says right here, whether the establishment, maintenance, operation, or use of that will deter, endanger public safety, comfort, general welfare, or result of hours of operations will have an arrangement on noise, vibration, emission, pollutant, and also odor, dust, traffic congestion, and also attractive nuisance. May I stop there and help us right now? I know every one of us love animals. I love animals. You have pets. It's obviously by the testimony we've already had. We're not arguing the fact that they will probably run a very good organization. But our concern is our particular business, the safety of our clients, and more importantly, the longevity that we've had there that will affect our people. First, let's start. I appreciate the fact that we talk about the noise to the organization. It was mentioned that we have planes coming over our particular building. No argument. But those planes actually come over at less than 5 to 10 seconds of a day. Those planes are not consistent. Those planes basically, if we're lucky, 5 to 6 planes over that building in a long period of time. Well, in fact, they are not consistent noise challenges to our student. If I do help you to refresh your memory on the testimony was given, the building that is in question for that particular occupancy, the wall of the building has no more than 9 feet between the building and our property line. Surely they put up an 8-foot fence. I think that's great, and thank you for letting them do that. But the challenge with that is that just incorporates the fact that when dogs are out there, the noise is going to bounce off the building, it's going to bounce off the fence, it's going to come over top, and we're going to have the echo effect for the dogs that are there. Further education to you, I need to let you know that from my education, based on, again, not being contacted to find out if it's a nuisance to us, we did our homework, And what I understand is they're going to have anywhere from 60 to 136 kennels in that location. 136. So work with me just for a moment and tell me that dogs are going to go outside in a very small space. They're going to be allowed to run. There's not a way that they can let 136 dogs in that location for that small time that they're claiming they're going to put them outdoors. Even if they take the small dogs first, which are bigger and noisier than the big dogs, now they're going to have to put them outside. Let's multiply that. Hopefully, I would assume, they're going to probably do that twice a day for those dogs. Multiply 136 dogs by 2 and tell me how long they're going to have dogs out there in that run. It's going to have to be constant unless they leave them locked up in that building all day long, which I don't think the owners of those dogs would be happy with if they were going to house those dogs there. Now, in addition to that, our particular school has students arriving as early as 6:30 or 7 o'clock in the morning. We run classes all the way till 10 o'clock at night. If those dogs are out there barking that whole time, it concerns us greatly because not only do our particular customers study for national and state exams, we also administer some of those state exams also for them to be able to get their insurance license. Ask yourself, if you're taking a 2 or 3 hour exam, if you hear dogs barking outside at multiples, how good are you going to be able to concentrate on those particular exams? That will not only be a problem for us of business because it's going to ruin our reputation, the failure rate of the student is going to go down drastically during that particular period of time. In addition to that, let me assure you that now my biggest concern is the testimony I heard before. In addition to the noise, which is the major concern, I still am concerned about the feces. I appreciate, and I'm sure you're going to be very conscientious. Thank you for that. But my problem is this, guys. I know that if you have dogs out there and they actually do utilize that run, unless they're out there flushing it every 5 minutes, that urine is going to be compounded because of the heat that's outside, and their property line is right to our particular parking lot where students go out on break times to be able to have a breath of fresh air. That fresh air is not going to be there. I'm sorry, and I appreciate the fact that the drainage is going to be there, but it's not going to happen to be there that's going to give us lack of smell because of that feces. Second problem, or third problem I'm going to have is, even if they wash that and it goes into that particular bin, my concern, as spoken before, if you're looking at the drainage to the back of the easement back there, when it rains, it floods. I'm sorry, as good as you're going to get, that water is going to come into their specific area for where those dogs are, and that drainage is not going to be adequate enough for it not to go there. I also heard you, and you heard there's a concrete slab out there. Please don't get me wrong, but I've been around a lot of pets, including my own, and if that feces goes into that concrete slab, as much as you try, that is going to compound, and over time, that feces is going to get worse and worse. My business, our business, is going to be impaired because of the noise, because of the feces, but now the other problem is safety of our customers as well. I know that my concern is dogs, just like every one of your dogs, will try to escape a penned-in area, dig or whatever. I appreciate the fact that someone's going to be out there to watch them. That's great. But now let's complicate that by having the dogs come to that facility. They've already mentioned that there's a grassed area out front. There's no fenced in for that at all. Even if, in fact, they deliver those dogs, the customers deliver those dogs, they can't control those dogs during that period of time. Dog gets loose, comes in, now bites. Our professional students that have been coming to our organization year after year after year. This is going to impede our business substantially. I am very concerned of being a professional business that's been at that location for 22 years, that I'm going to have safety, I'm going to have professional image to be digressed. More importantly, it's going to affect me financially. It may end up being such a deterrent that now, over the period of years, I could lose my business. I know you put a lot of money into your business, but over the years I've been here, I put a huge amount into my reputation, into my location, but more importantly, I have built that at that location. And no one from the city even contacted us under this particular ordinance to let us know, is the pollution going to be a problem because of feces? Is the noise going to be a problem? And more importantly, the odor going to be a problem? I can say that they're going to come back up and say the odor's not going to be a problem. I'm sorry, guys, but if you have a dog, I appreciate your comment, my lady, but my problem is dogs do exactly what you know they do. Am I passionate about this? And 100% I'm passionate about this, because this is a business that I've built so long that I can see that could possibly go away in a matter of a short period of time. I don't think that is fair to my customers. I don't think it's fair to me, but I don't think it's fair because the due diligence was not done before it was granted to give a conditional receipt to a particular location, that the surrounding businesses were not taken into consideration at that time. Is it legal? I'm sure it is. But unfortunately, guys and gals, the business entity, and I heard your comment, M1 is the most, most flexible. Flexible due to the surroundings is the word I heard. There was not a consideration of the surroundings that it's in. Unfortunately, guys and gals, I too will ask you to please vote to not allow this particular opportunity to ruin my business, and I'm going to ask you to grant me this appeal. I can reiterate everything else, but please take that into consideration based on what you already heard. I am not begrudging your business at all, my lady. I absolutely am not. I'm protecting mine, and I'm protecting my business clients that are anticipating that we're going to be there for them for their professional insurance career. Please help me to save my business. Thank you. Any comment?
Is there anybody in the audience that would like to come up and speak on this item?
Douglas Burke, 16803 Banner Shell Place, Wimauma, Florida. Camp Bow Wow franchise owner, also French, my partner.
Were you sworn in?
Yes.
Thank you.
Yep. I'd just like to, I'll be brief, paint a better Camp Bow Wow picture. I don't know if any of you looked on the Camp Bow Wow site. They're owned by Mars Candy Company. They've been refining their craft for 20 plus years. They're adjacent to everything from academies, schools, churches, restaurants. Obviously, they've been up against all of this before. And even outside, everything's pitched in the drainage system from an engineering standpoint. It's all been covered. As far as the noise goes, the dog's going to be outside less time than the airplanes are going to be flying over. And I don't know if you've been over to the airport. It's pretty loud. If anything's going to disrupt a student, it's going to be the airplane going by, not the dogs barking, which I don't believe you would hear at all, being as far away that the building is. And I welcome all of the students to drop off their dogs in the morning before they go to class while they have to, study and take an exam. At least that's one less stress on the student, that they know their dog's being taken care of while they're taking their tests. So I can almost guarantee that some of the students would drop their dogs off there. So again, Camp Bow Wow has been doing this for 20 years, taking in every consideration from smell to noise, and they're getting better and better with it every year. And they've never had one complaint, one lawsuit about noise, smell, sound. The stuff they take into consideration is just overwhelming, a lot more so than even the food company does next door.
On behalf of my client, I'd like to say that the applicant for denial speculated on a lot of things. None of it was really factual. So it's kind of hard to refute. We've said that we're going to have a kennel. We're going to have an operation with dogs. Yes, I would imagine that there will be times when they will hear the dogs. But like the airplanes, it becomes background. It's not an impediment to her business. Her speculation that she's going to lose students is a bit much. I don't think that's going to happen. And again, we believe that we're doing everything necessary to mitigate those issues. And I think there's maybe a misunderstanding about the difference between a sanitary sewer, which is where the water flows into, and a storm sewer, which is where the rain goes. The system is designed so that it will go into the sanitary sewer. I'm not sure that there's that much more that we can do. And we just hope that you understand that this is a proper use. It'll be a good use, and they'll be a good corporate citizen. Thanks.
I have one other thing to add. Thank you. In regards to the safety, all of our dogs are pre-screened before they're accepted at Camp Bow Wow, and they have what's called temperament testing, which we are trained to conduct. The dog comes to the daycare for a 3-hour period of time in which they're slowly introduced to other dogs, other people, so we can ensure that these dogs are not aggressive in any way, shape, or form. If they are aggressive, we do not accept them as our clients. I would rather reject one dog that's uncomfortable or aggressive or has potential to be aggressive in our facility and save the future customers who are able to be conducted in that type of an environment. This isn't made for every dog. There's plenty of dogs out there that do not do well in daycare, and we identify that, and we make sure that we do the screening and temperament testing prior. There's also a required leash on your dog when you're taking them out from your car or transportation to the door. That is a requirement of all owners to keep them leashed as they are exiting and entering the facility. When they do enter the facility, there is a right side for entrance, a left side for exit, so there shouldn't be a lot of traffic two ways, with dogs going with each other. So just wanted to add that in regards to the safety of other passerbys. So, any questions?
Councilwoman Reed.
I'm a visual person.
Okay.
So this building here is your school, correct?
Right.
And this is the parking lot between your building, and this is your side of the building,
Yep.
correct? So then you're over here against the street, and then this is a transmission shop over here.
Yep.
That backs up to here. So where you're turning your dogs out is going to be here.
Can I approach?
And it doesn't adjoin.
Do you see where this little over thing is right there? That's been removed because they requested it was an easement issue. So we are putting a fence up right there along that side. It's 10
Right here.
feet.
You're going to have a fence here.
Not on that property line.
Where the grass area
Where
is.
the grass area is, but it comes into the grass like by 3 feet because that's actually still their property. There's just a 10-foot space along this side of the building. It'll be 10 feet, a white 8-foot fence that will wrap around, and it will have doors. One of those areas will be a teacup area, and then there will be 3 other 10-foot by like 20-foot areas for the dogs to get outdoor fresh air.
Okay. And then this is your parking area.
Yep, so our customers will drive in here, and then the entrance will be like just that service door that was on the other side of the, I don't know what to call it, that ramp. And I'm not sure where their main entrance is.
And then your main entrance is over here. Is that where, or over here?
We have multiple entrances on
Around the building.
If I can show you.
Yeah.
We have an entrance at this corner. We also have one at this corner over here as well in the back. We have multiple entrances over
And then your building's a concrete building.
That is correct.
Yours. Correct. Okay.
And if I may,
Okay.
here's a visual that might help because it's actual drawing of houses.
Okay.
And again, 8-foot high fences, dogs aren't going to be able to get out of that location.
Is that?
Okay.
It's in the backup?
It's in our backup.
Thank you.
The challenge of consideration is that space is very, very small.
Which space?
The space for the dog run that they have.
Okay. But I mean, that's their feet. It's not their problem, not.
The reason.
Okay. Can you stop the recording because it's her trying to speak and you started speaking, so it's okay. I just want to keep this even and fair. So, no. Okay. Go ahead. Councilman Reed, your lights go on. Any more questions? No. Okay. Alrighty. Continue.
And then again, our outdoor space is literally to appeal to the two-legged customer. It's what appealed to us when we took our dog to doggy daycare. We were like, oh, they have outdoor space. And then after we realized these dogs don't go outside unless the counselors, the employees go outside, then they'll follow them out. So our major run space is the interior of the building. We have like 4,000 square foot areas inside for them to run in. In Florida, you wouldn't want your dog out in the heat anyways, but it's there to appeal literally for a visual for that two-legged customer. And if a dog wants to go out, it can, but it's, when it's time to, but it's primarily that was the reason why we have those runs and why they are the size that they are. They're not huge. It's the minimum required square footage by Camp Bow Wow corporate to meet their standards. That was it. So.
And that was an important point that these dogs aren't just locked in kennels inside. There's play area inside.
And enrichment activities.
Enrichment activities. It's
Thank you. Alrighty. Is there anybody else in the audience that would like to come up and speak? You have 3 minutes to offer anything else.
Comment made by opposing counsel. I think it's very unfair for him to assume that it's not going to affect our business. I do appreciate the fact that they do have dogs that are going to go outside. I appreciate you have inside, but I also appreciate the outside. If I do the math with you, 136 dogs inside is eventually going to come out. And even if you have staff there, they cannot control the barking. They can't control whether or not the rain is going to push that feces outside of those drains that they specifically have when it overflows into that area. And it will, because I've been there 22 years. The drainage is not good enough for it not to go onto our property. It goes into a large part of our property parking lot when it rains excessively. The feces is still a problem. The noise is a bigger problem because we're testing every day. The planes don't go over every moment of the day. The dogs being out there is more of an hindrance for us because people have to concentrate on those exams. We will literally lose customers because of that particular reason. Please let me say to you, our reputation, number one, our professional image, number two, loss of revenue, possibly and very likely loss of business because of the location. We can't achieve our goals if this is actually approved. I highly recommend that you please accept our appeal.
I have one additional comment, if you don't mind. That building is over 20 feet tall. You put an 8-foot fence less than 10 feet away. You put 20 dogs out there. That's going to be an echo. The planes come over. They're only there for 5 or 10 seconds, maybe 6 or 7 planes a day. We're going to be out there for all day long. The dogs are going to be coming and going. You're going to have the echo off that 20-foot building, 8-foot fence. That noise has to go somewhere. It's not going to be contained in that area. It's not. And our planes come over maybe 6, 7 times a day for 10 seconds. You can't compare the noise. You can't compare the noise. And they're trying to.
Any additional information from anybody in the audience? I don't think that you're allowed to speak after the rebuttal. So, sorry about that. Alrighty, I will close the public hearing and entertain a motion. Councilmember Butler?
Yeah, make a motion. We deny the public hearing first and final reading.
Second, the
motion
to deny the appeal?
Yes.
Thank you.
Second.
Motion has been made and second. Any further discussion by City Council on this item?
Right. I just want to make a point that they could build a concrete plant there next door, and we couldn't do a darn thing about it. And it would make more noise than these dogs, and they would start early in the morning and stay going till dark at night. And there would be nothing in the world that we could do to stop them, because it's allowed on that, because you are in an area that allows almost everything to go. Just like with the other ones, they could have a brewery and a restaurant next door that would cause more flies than what I think these dogs would cause. You could have a concrete plant next door that would cause 10 times more noise than these dogs will cause.
Transmission shop.
So, you put your business in a situation where they're allowed to do just about anything out there. So I'm going to go along with Rick on this one.
Any additional discussion by City Council? I wrote a note off to the side and asked Bart just to verify. You could have a fishmonger next door. And that was one thing that I didn't think of when the food processing company was here. And if you've ever been around a fishmonger place, they are very enthusiastic about their work. And then on top of that, you would have, because fishmongers not only bring in the catch, they also prepare it for it to go to market. So it is, if you've ever prepared fish, you know the process for that. And the verification was, yes, there could be a fishmonger right next to you as well. If there is any runoff, by right, it doesn't matter what type of business there is. If there's a pollutant runoff on your property that's caused by somebody else, you have every right to call about that. And if it's been a problem, you should have called prior to tonight to let us know that there was runoff coming from another property. Unless it was a natural occurrence before either one of the buildings were built, they have to negate runoff going to your property. If it was like that from the day that the land was developed by God, then you don't have a right. But if their property was elevated higher on purpose and it's running off onto your property, you do have a right to call and make a complaint about drainage coming from another person's property. So if that does happen, if you do have issues, please do call so and let us know. Because there is a rule from FDEP that you're not allowed to have waste running off into other areas. So with that, all in favor? Aye.
Motion carries unanimously.
Moving on to section 4, item consent agenda items.
Item C1 is authorization for the mayor to accept a warranty deed for property from the city of Pinellas Park for right-of-way at 4703 88th Avenue North. Item C2 is authorization for the mayor to accept a warranty deed for property from the city of Pinellas Park for right-of-way at parcel number 213016 69822 400 6305. Item C3 is authorization for the mayor to sign a contract for the purchase of real property from Orange State Steel Construction Incorporated, located at 6201 80th Avenue North, in the amount of $900,000 plus closing costs, subject to the closing documents being acceptable to the city attorney. Item C4, approve selection of City Council Member Reed to serve on the Evaluation Committee for review and evaluation of proposals for RFP 22/004 Grant Consulting Services. Item C5 is resolution number 23-01, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Pinellas Park, Pinellas County, Florida, waiving certain permit fees as outlined in Exhibit A, attached hereto and made a part hereof, for a 3 work week period beginning Monday, March 6, 2023, through Friday, March 24th, 2023, in conjunction with Pride in the Park activities, providing that permits issued without charge shall remain valid in accordance with Section 18-905 of the Land Development Code, providing that permit fee waivers shall only be granted for single-family dwellings, providing for an effective date. Item C6 is authorization for the mayor to sign a final plat approval for Kaylee's replat located at parcel numbers 28-30-16-711 118-052-0010 and 28-30-16-7118-052-0020. Item C7 is resolution number 23-02, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Pinellas Park, Pinellas County, Florida, supporting water quality and community safety projects, authorizing the city manager to sign and submit attestation forms and backup documents to the Florida House of Representatives for fiscal year 2023-2024 House appropriations funding, designating the city manager or his designee as the official liaison agent, confirming the amount of grant funds requested, confirming the city's commitment for a cash match, and providing for an effective date. Item C8 is resolution number 23-03, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Pinellas Park, Pinellas County, Florida, approving the pooling of its surplus funds with other local governmental entities by becoming a participant and purchasing shares of beneficial interest in the Florida Surplus Asset Fund Trust, FSAFE, or the Trust, a common law trust under the laws of the state of Florida, providing for an effective date. Item C9 is authorization for final payment to ARC Playground Equipment for Freedom Lake Park Playground Equipment in the amount of $172,232.58. Item C10 is authorization to make final payment to Place Space Services Incorporated for work performed at Freedom Lake Park at a cost of $119,549.10. Item C11 is authorization to purchase 46 ballistic plates for SWAT personnel from Lewis Police Distribution at a total cost of $31,050. Item C12 is authorization for the mayor to certify an emergency purchase of a 50-ton HVAC equipment and control replacement for Park Station from Air Mechanical and Service Corporation in an amount of $272,000. Item C13 is authorization for the mayor to certify an emergency purchase of a 20-ton HVAC equipment for the library from Air Mechanical and Service Corporation in the amount of $42,340. Item C14 is authorization for the mayor to sign the First Amendment to the interlocal agreement between Pinellas County and the City of Pinellas Park for total maximum daily load monitoring and reporting. Item C15 is authorization for the mayor to sign Task Order 08/2022 under the City of Pinellas Park Contract 18/011 Utility Rate Study to be performed by Stantec Consulting Services Incorporated in the amount not to exceed $66,513. That concludes tonight's consent agenda.
Thank you. Miss Patty Reed.
Oh, question.
You have a question?
Yes.
Hold on.
Got a question on the agenda?
Okay.
I think that's great. We're getting that Orange State Steel property. What do we plan on doing with it?
Public Works.
Public Works.
Public Works.
Is it coming cleared or as is?
With the equipment that they have out there existing,
Yes.
It's coming with it all. He's going to take some of the stuff. We're going to clear it out, create additional parking and storage for the stuff that we have, also for parking for employees. It'll help that out. It's on.
He's talking quietly. He inherited Rick's speaking.
Huh? Make a great kennel over there, I hear.
Yeah. No, I think that's going to be a great addition to that piece of property. And whenever we have something that's up against us, wherever we're at, we ought to take advantage of it and purchase it. No, it's a good idea. Thank you.
Okay, Patty.
Ready? Mayor Bradbury, regarding the consent agenda, I would like to make a motion to pass, approve, or adopt whichever action is appropriate. Items C1 through C15, inclusive, with items C5, C7, and C8 being first and final reading. The next public hearing will be held in council chambers on Thursday, January 26, 2023 at 6 p.m.
Second the motion.
Motion's been made and second. Any further discussion on items C1 through 15? Is there anybody in the audience that has any questions on items C1 through 15? Seeing none, all those in favor? Aye.
Motion carries unanimously.
We have already listened to the library board's annual report for R1, so we're moving on to section 6. Council member comments. Vice Mayor Seville.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. It was a very interesting night. I guess all of our dogs are going to be kept safe. And I just hope they're a good neighbor, and I think it should all work together. I don't see any real problems with that out there at all. I think staff made a good decision. That's all I got. Thank you.
Thank you.
I don't have anything tonight. Nope.
Nothing.
I know.
Councilmember Butler.
I'm speechless tonight. It's really, like I said, it's first time in 26 years or so. But I think it'll work out. It's, one of those things. Next.
Nothing for me tonight.
Staff have anything? Miss Lana's always got stuff.
Well, lots going on. After January 1, we've hit the ground running. Obviously, for a full update on all of our events and happenings in Pinellas Park, you can always check our city calendar at pinellas-park.com and our Facebook page. But just to highlight a few, our 2023 pack shows have started. It's going to kick off with Elvis this weekend. He has 2 shows, a matinee and an evening show, I believe, which are both sold out. The matinee might have a handful of tickets left, but that's it if it does. And then we have a Michael Jackson tribute coming at the end of the month at the PAC, January 21st. That is sold out, so you missed out if you didn't get your tickets. We have an orchestra concert from the Pinellas Civic Orchestra at the Performing Arts Center on the 15th. That's always a nice time, and it's free. Our city offices and library are closed in observance of Martin Luther King Day on January 16th. And then we have Rick's favorite, Florida Suncoast Tiny Homes at England Brothers Park. That's January 21st and 22nd. Fourth Saturday Art Walk Block Party is January 28th. And then last but definitely not least, because who doesn't love tacos, Pinellas Taco Fest at England Brothers Park on the 28th and 29th. That is all I have.
Yum. Staff, Miss Angela.
Yes. Well, we have summer camp registration in full effect, and in only about a week's time, 4 spots are almost already full. So please act fast if you want to be enrolled in Forbes this summer. Also exciting news this week, we did get notification that the state Rails to Trail grant was funded for our Tingler Park project at 50%. So we're receiving $175,000 via the state to replace the current boardwalk, which is really needing that. We'll be rebuilding the boardwalk and relocating the current gazebo that's on the boardwalk. That'll be on the shoreline, and we'll add some picnic tables and some of those informational kiosks where sometimes you learn information about the birds and what have you. So that'll be a nice improvement that we hope to get done this calendar year, if not this fiscal year, hopefully. And we will have, I'm going to leave you with a cliffhanger. We're going to have exciting news about the farm next meeting. So please tune in next meeting and do attend. And there'll be spirit fingers flying, and they might be contagious next month about all of you. So I'll leave it at that.
Is there a fly out there? Do we have a fly?
We do have a fly. That poor cow out there does seem to always have flies around him, but we'll figure that out.
At least I know we're normal.
Just want to let everybody know we did some work on the F-16 this week. Cecil was out there. There was a group from McDill and some folks that are experts in working on the F-16, and they complimented it, said it's very nice, well-preserved piece of aerocraft, and they did a good job out there. So I want to thank Cecil and everybody else who was out there helping. Thank you.
Thank you.
I did not see that.
You're going to steal my thunder.
Mark, that's all I know.
Oh, they mentioned you got something else, Keith?
Oh, are you done with staff?
Mm-hmm. Well, kind of, sort of. I'm going over this way.
Do we have some birthdays here tonight?
That's the very end. We're saving the best for last. Chiefs?
Always want to appreciate the support for the firefighters, Local 2193. The entire city gives. It's really wonderful. We mentioned Martin Luther King Day. The new Squad 36, so the new one at Station 36 will be in the Martin Luther King Parade in St. Pete on Monday. So.
Not this Monday, the following Monday. Oh, no, it is.
No, it's
this
Monday.
That's correct.
Yeah, it's Monday. So just want to let everybody know that if you watch it on TV or you want it up there, they'll be out there. The crew and Lieutenant Riley, who was here tonight, will also be there.
The other chief next door? Nothing? Okay. Really quickly, F-16. I was invited as mayor to go over to MacDill for a Christmas event that they were doing. Happy to do so. I brought my dad with me, and because the last time I went to MacDill, I went as his guest when he was mayor. So I, had to do it to brag. But the really wonderful thing was the general that's in charge of CENTCOMs, one of his assistants' name is Erin. She and her husband is stationed there, and that's how she became involved with the activities at MacDill Air Force Base. He's an F-16 pilot. He donated, with permission, one of his flight suits to go on the dummy that sits up in the F-16 over there. And because the other one had been in there for 24 years, the outfit had deteriorated from the sun. With Lockheed Martin giving us a little bit more of a better canopy with the sun glare and things in it, hopefully this one will last a little bit longer. But in the meantime, she did her magic, called around, made phone calls, sent out emails, received an F-16 helmet. All we had to pay for was the cost of the shipping of it. An F-16 helmet from a female pilot who is stationed in Texas. So on the back of it, she wrote in her own pen, "Fly like a girl." So it's going to have a girl's helmet on there. So very excited. It's had a male helmet on it for the last 24 years. So the next 24 years gets to have a woman's helmet on it. So, and with that, we need to wish Miss Patty a happy birthday.
Happy birthday, Patty.
So,
And Jennifer, we share birthdays.
oh, look at that.
Happy birthday.
Jennifer, happy birthday.
So, very happy birthday to both of you guys then.
18 years old, huh?
And holding.
Holding.
Did we forget anything else?
No.
So, with that, we hope that everybody has a blessed couple of weeks. Oh,
Wait. Deputy City Clerk Strickland's birthday was on Saturday.
wow. Well, I will see you guys tomorrow. So, January babies.
I didn't know she was a Capricorn.
So, I think we're done. With that, meeting adjourned. Have a blessed couple of weeks, and we see you again.